With Jujutsu Kaisen now over, let's talk about the top 10 strongest characters in the entire series. Alright, I might be coming in with a hot take right off the bat, but at number 10, I've got Yuki Tsukumo, one of the 4 modern-day special grades. And clearly, Yuki is built different. Don't get me wrong, but she's a bit hard to place exactly because her, instant win condition is black hole, which if she lets that rip full potential, the whole planet's going to get destroyed, right? So yes, she could theoretically probably beat anyone else on this list if she just goes full self-sacrifice play, but that's kind of hard to quantify if we're really trying to get into the weeds of 1v1 potential, right? Plus, we never saw her domain, so I'm going to slot her in at number 10. Then coming in at number 9, I've got Yorozu, the insect queen of our perfectly sphered hearts. We know that she was a problem back during the Heian era, so she is clearly built different, and we actually get to see her domain, which we know she can combine with Perfect Sphere to make sure that's going to be a guaranteed hit. That's a huge problem for anybody that doesn't have their own domain, or at the very least, some very potent anti-domain techniques. I think her and Yuki are pretty much hand in hand, but since we actually see her domain, I'm giving her the edge. Next up for the 8th slot, I'm going to share that between the 2 heavenly restricted demons of the Zenin clan, Toji and Maki. So we're basically going to equate them for this, but for what it's worth, I do rank Maki a little bit stronger than Toji. Now, I do think these 2 are incredibly hard to place in this list as well, because it's going to depend, right? Are we equipping them with their full arsenal? Are they going to have the Soul Split Katana? Is Toji going to have the Inverted Spear of Heaven and all that type of stuff? I think that plays a huge role. But assuming they at least have the Soul Split Katana, I think these 2 can do work on a bunch of sorcerers, especially since unless you have a very sophisticated domain, you're not going to be able to catch them in that, right? Sukuna, we know, can affect them with the domain because it's open and he has a way to target inanimate objects, and I think other people could develop that as well, but most of the sorcerers we've seen don't have that level of sophistication. So I think they're going to be able to get one over on a bunch of people, but it's going to be really dependent. So for now, I'm putting them at 8. Next, coming in at lucky number 7, I've got the Chef Uroume, and this one is a bit more based on vibes and potential than hard feats because we don't get to see too much from Uroume, but what we do get to see is crazy. Like, the destructive potential of this curse technique should not be underestimated, and this placement is also heavily focused on the fact that you do not become Sukuna's right hand unless you're built different. Next, coming in at number 6, we've got Mythical Beast Amber Kashimo. So Kashimo using his curse technique. If we're talking base Kashimo, he's not even in my top 10. But using the technique, I think we would slot him right here. Not quite top 5, but he could probably beat the people beneath them if he's going all out. But I will say that the sorcerers beneath him do have the win condition of their domain expansions, assuming they can get those off. Because, I mean, he might not be able to do much. Because if he does use an anti-domain technique, he's not going to be able to utilize his best asset, speed, right? So I think he gets taken out. But then we're just going to get into a whole crazy power scaling speed conversation, which I don't really want to do. So I'm slotting him right here, number 6. Then to kick off our top 5, we've got none other than the MC Yuji Itadori, and let's just quickly run through what he's got at the end of the series. Not only is this man chosen by the Black Sparks, and he's going to hit you with some black flashes before you even know what's going on, those black flashes are also going to pack a soul punch to them. He can see the contours of your soul, and he is going to be popping that thing, okay? Not only that, he has blood manipulation, which is a powerful curse technique in and of itself, but it also facilitates easier RCT, which he also has. On top of that, he also has Shrine, which is one of the best curse techniques we've seen in the series, and oh yeah, he has a domain expansion now, and anti-domain techniques. So he's also one of the most durable and heavenly restricted-esque in terms of his physical stats. So Yuji is a brick house, built different, and is going to run you over. And even if you do get your licks in on him, if it's just pain, Yuji Itadori will not stop. Next up, coming in at number 4, we've got Yuta Okotsu, the prodigy of the modern era. This man woke up and was special grade, okay? And good luck running the ones with him because that doesn't exist. He is a built-in 2v1 because he's got Rika, the queen of curses, at his beck and call. And just real quick, if we were to strip Rika away from Yuta, she alone would be on this top 10 list, and yet she's a package deal with him. Yuta is truly built different. Not only does he have a special grade curse at his side, but he also has a slew of like 15 different curse techniques that he can beat you with, including one that is Jacob's Ladder and can just straight up cancel yours. On top of that, he has demonstrated some of the most sophisticated targeting we have seen in a domain expansion, which speaks to its refinement and speaks to his skill with barrier techniques in general. Oh yeah, he swapped with Gojo and learned from the Honored One himself. And this kid is 16, 17 years old. Just imagine what he'll be like in another 10 or 15 years when he's Gojo's age, right? So right now he's at number 4, and this goes for Yuji as well. That kid is 16, 15 at best, right? Give them both 15 to 20 years and they will be even further up this list, perhaps even surpassing our GOATs. But for now, they're at 5 and 4. Then to kick off our top 3, we've got Kenjaku in that 3rd slot. And he's basically just the older, wiser, more sophisticated version of Yuta, right? He doesn't have a Rika, but he has an entire slew of cursed spirits at his beck and call, some of which have their very own domain expansions, thanks to Geto's cursed spirit manipulation. On top of that, he's got an anti-gravity technique that he can do some insane things with, including surviving a black hole. And oh yeah, he took on a 2v1, arguably 3v1 if you include Tengen's interference, when he faced off against Choso and Yuki, and he held his own without breaking too much of a sweat during all of that. This is one of the most sophisticated barrier users to have ever existed, and the only other person not named Sukuna to demonstrate an open domain. I think it also speaks volumes that as strong as Yuta is, and I was just talking about, it took Yuta, Todo, and Takaba to take this man down. I do not think that Yuta would be able to beat him in a straight up 1v1 due to the difference in their refinement and sophistication of the barrier techniques. It would be tough, don't get me wrong, but I feel pretty confident in slating Kenjaku firmly above Yuta as it stands now. But again, give Yuta a few more years, I'm going to put him, and probably Yuji as well, over Kenny. And then, of course, number 1 and number 2 are going to come as no surprise to anyone because Gojo and Sukuna are just so completely different from everyone else. They're on another playing field, another stratosphere, another planet, right? They are the strongest in history versus the strongest of today. And in fact, either of them could solo the rest of the list below them, even in a 7v1 scenario, right? They're just that much stronger than everybody else. But who's stronger, right? And I personally view them as pretty much equals. I think either could get the upper hand on the other, but we gotta give credit where it's due. So Gojo's coming in at number 2, and Sukuna is coming in at number 1 because he got the dub. He won the 1v1 matchup. Extenuating circumstances be damned, that's gotta count for something. But yeah, that is my top 10 end of series JJK list. And I know some of those choices are going to be unpopular with the community at large. So be sure to let me know all your qualms with my list and also y'all's lists down in the comments below. And special shout out to Bakari who sponsored this video. Thank you so much for the support, man. And then I've also got a crossover question here from Crimson. So thank you so much for the support and for being a YouTube member. Don't forget to connect your Discord to your YouTube so you can join our private channel for all my members out there. But he says, crossover question. Given the 4 categories to gauge the threat of a calamity, what do you believe the overall score would be for Sukuna if he was in the world of Hunter x Hunter? And do you believe the current Hunter Association could defeat him? All right, so this is really interesting. So let's take a look and try to classify Sukuna based on the way they do these calamities. And it's ferocity, number, fertility, and destructive potential, right? Sukuna is going to be top of the top when it comes to ferocity and destruction. But in number and fertility, he's going to be ranked very lowly. So I think those are going to cancel out, and they would probably rank him a C. Yes, he's going to be a huge threat to any like isolated area that he's in, but he doesn't have like the worldwide potential to spread like a disease and represent a threat in that way, if it makes sense. But all that being said, they may rank him a C, but he's still going to be a huge problem for them because I think Sukuna beats the entire Hunter Association because of domain expansion, right? He can just trap a bunch of them in there and his attacks are going to guarantee land on them. And the people in Hunter x Hunter do not have the same healing capabilities the way that JJK characters do. So it's going to be lights off for them as soon as that domain goes off. Now, maybe there's some combination of different, Hatsus that would be able to do something about him, but just just on a very base level here, I think he would win. And then finally, we got this from Dharma Wheel, who responded to my recent video about Mechamaru and his heavenly restriction. And y'all can pause to read this, but I completely agree. That is the exact same way that I think about idle transfiguration working. It just changes your default factory settings. And that's going to do it for this one, y'all. Thank you guys so much for the support, and happy Friday to everybody who's watching this the day I put it out. My plan is to get in at least one, but maybe a couple streams this weekend. So if you're not already, come follow me over on Twitch. I'm Bocce over there. We're going to be playing some story-driven games, but also maybe some spooky atmospheric games for Spooktober. So come hang out.